Welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today we're talking about one of the greatest basketball rivalries in the Big Ten. And let me tell you a little bit about the Big Ten. The Big Ten is known for basketball. It's known for producing power, stack house power players who eventually make a pathway into the NBA or they play overseas. Today, I am privileged to have one of the most dominant forces on the basketball court in this 1991 era. The game shot overtime killer himself, the general, Mr. Treg Lee. Welcome to the show, big guy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me, man.
Hey, let's get right down to it. We've been talking basketball for the last couple of weeks, man. Tell the viewers a little bit about you before we get right into the basketball aspect of your life.
Well, I mean, I come from a single parent home, mom. My father was around, but he wasn't necessarily an athlete. He had an addiction problem. I didn't realize it until later in life. But so I was pretty much a shy kid growing up. Very, I shouldn't say a very religious, but a very spiritual household.
Right.
And I got my core values from my grandmother. She's from Birmingham, Alabama, and I came here when I was born on the east side of Cleveland. I was living around a lot of relatives, like cousins and things like that. But I really valued friendship. I valued family, even though my family was extremely small.
Mhm.
It was that side of town is called the John Adams area. We usually deal with when it comes to high schools or location would be Kinsman Union. That's a pretty rough neighborhood.
Mhm.
I probably was indulging in a little bit of everything before fourth grade.
Really? What do you mean, like in everything before fourth grade? What do you get into before fourth grade?
Exactly. I had access to alcohol. I had access, even though I didn't partake in alcohol, I've never
Right.
been a big alcohol person. I mean, I drink socially, but I had access to marijuana. At the age that I was, I could walk up to the known drug house, knock on the door, hand them $5, and they give me that manila envelope
Yeah.
full of marijuana. I mean, who sells to somebody that's
Now that you look
uh,
back, you probably like, wow, yeah, who sells to
a child?
a child?
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. And then I can remember being coming from a summer program with my cousin, and we were walking through the schoolyard, and there's some benches. They have an outdoor pool, an indoor pool. It was called Hamilton Junior High School, and we would go up there for the summer free lunches and then swim in the pool. And on our way home, I remember some guys standing out there, and they were like, "Hey, you guys want to take a hit of this?" And he opened up it looked like a cigarette case that you kind of take your cigarettes out and put them in. And when he opened it up, it was like cocaine on one side and a glass on the other. Who offers that to somebody that's like not even in the fourth grade?
Right.
I mean, those were the type of things that I had to deal with on that side of town. So I wasn't doing as well in school when I got to the fourth grade. I think I started indulging in a lot of things with my older cousins.
Right.
And so my mom saw the writing on the wall and moved us from one side of town to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And on that side of town, I'm the new kid.
Right.
It's a integrated neighborhood,
Okay.
which Cleveland is not necessarily integrated, but when we moved on that side, I had a white person across the street, and that's where I learned the game of baseball. Just by playing street baseball with these guys, organizing ourselves together as we did when we were kids,
Right.
playing against neighborhood, and then they opened up little league at the park uh, near our house called Larry Dugan. Well, it was called Ferguson at the time, but they renamed it to Larry Dugan Park, and that was the first time I ever played an organized sport. In baseball, I was a natural.
How was it when you first started playing organized sports? And how what did when you said your mom moved you over there, what was the real culture shock outside of being in a diverse neighborhood?
The big culture shock probably was living, not having family members to support you,
Hmm.
moving to a new area where I knew absolutely no one. I was the tallest kid pretty much in the school,
Right.
uh, even though I arrived there in the fourth grade and it was an elementary school that went to sixth grade. I was still, if not equal to, I was the tallest. Um, I was a decent athlete. I wasn't a great athlete, but I developed myself, I think, into a good athlete because I got chased home from school that first year every single day.
What?
That first year, my fourth grade year, I got chased home from school every single day.
Why was you getting chased home from school if you're the tallest kid in the school? You're
Uh,
like you're like the giant. I'm not gonna go mess with a giant.
you know those idiosyncrasies when you're in elementary school, if you're the fastest, but you're not in the clique,
Yeah.
you know, you're an outcast. So they just kind of, rounded up the posse and they would look for me every day. There was several different ways to go out of the building, and then I had a way to go through the woods, I had a way to go through the back streets, and I had a way to go the regular way. So I always position myself in a way where, hey, I'm thinking, I mean, I'm on my toes. I'm from the hood. So,
Yeah, but
okay.
to look at you, and I think a lot of people probably don't understand bullying's been going on for so many years. I remember going through the same thing that you did in part of my life where, I would go to school. My mom had no idea I was
Absolutely.
getting bullied
Absolutely.
until to this day I don't even know. But she found out after a couple of days. But how did you share that with your mom that you was getting bullied going home?
Well, the first time they really noticed it, I was, I said something disrespectful to a young lady, and she told her brother, and he came up to the school. He was from the middle school, and he was known as a street kid. And sure enough, somebody said, called my name. I turned around and all I saw was knuckles, like
Wow.
literally right at it. So when I went home, my nose was so swollen, I didn't want to go to school the next day. My grandmother was like, ain't nothing wrong with you. You can think, you can talk, you can walk. You're going to school.
Right.
So, and she just kept telling me, you just got to defend yourself. You got to stand up for yourself. I didn't have a man there to really deal with that situation or
Right.
help me to deal with it. So I had to try to figure it out on my own.
That was some tough love coming from your
It was very
your
much
mommy.
tough love.
So what did you do? You go back to school, then what? I'm taking the viewers down that journey, dog.
Uh, I mean, I just basically played my personality. I got one guy to like me, then I got another guy to like me, and then I started letting them see that, hey, I'm also fast.
Right.
So if you want me on your team at gym, I can win in some certain situations.
Right.
And I started building an alliance. And so some of the guys who used to chase me had friends that I had made friends with. And so all that kind of
Kind of
came
just
to a head.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go into the real development. You get your basketball in your hand. When was that put in your hand, and we're gonna go right on from there. Because from there you became. I'm not gonna give you your name. I'm gonna let you tell how that general came about. But now you're collaborating. But somebody eventually put a basketball in your hand.
Oh, well, so it's funny because it still started at that school, even though it wasn't organized sports. It
Right.
started at that school. I would go in gym class, and growing up the only child, you learn how to entertain yourself.
Right.
So when they would allow us to have free gym, I would literally go from one basket to the other, pretending that I'm pushing the ball up the floor, and I just watched. My idol was Dr. J, but I
I
didn't
was
have
just getting
Dr.
ready to
J
say
hands.
that.
But I didn't have Dr. J hands,
Right.
so
Right.
you know, I would just imitate any any player back then that I saw that I said, I think I could possibly do that. I would try to imitate. But what led to it was I went to the YMCA. I stayed in an overnight camp thing. Back then, you bring your sleeping bag.
Yeah.
Everybody sleeps in the gym at the Y. And you do the all night thing up until about 12, and everybody got to go to bed. And they had that next morning a sign up for YMCA basketball. And I said, man, I want to do that. I didn't really think about basketball as anything because Ohio is a football state.
Right.
And I played my first year organized basketball. We ended up winning the championship. I was not very good at all. Um, but the other kid on my team who was pretty tall, we were the two tallest in the whole league. It'd be one of those situations where he would miss, I would miss, he would miss, and one of us would have to make it because nobody else was getting a rebound until we did. So that's when basketball became a thought process. And then I started watching the NBA. I started watching. Uh, so Clark Kellogg is from my area.
Okay.
And I kept hearing his name, you know, ringing bells. I never got the chance to see him play in high school because basketball came into my dimension or my life right after he got into uh, Ohio State University.
Okay.
But I wish I was able to see him play in high school because some of the films that I saw from my high school, he was just phenomenal.
Hmm.
So as an eighth grader, uh, I started dunking, and I could dunk pretty much leagues. Now I lived up 3 hills from the main street, like Euclid Avenue.
I
I
know
had to
what that
walk up
is.
3 hills.
Yeah.
So walking up those hills every single day from the time I was in the fourth grade till I was a senior in high school, I think helped me develop some type of muscular uh, uh,
You see some change for
tone.
real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I had a 10 speed. So when I would go to the playground, I would ride my bike up that hill and I would challenge myself. I would never, ever walk that bike up that hill. Even if I had to go sideways, all the way,
Right.
I was not going to stop pedaling. So those are little goals that I set for myself that I think helped me become the athlete that I was. So by the time I got in the eighth grade, I was dunking the ball one hand, two hand drop step. I mean,
Mhm.
there's all different types of things to the point where people were starting to compare me because the last person they saw do that was Clark Kellogg.
Hmm. Tell me how you wind up going to the high school that you wind up going to, Saint Joseph's, correct?
Correct. So my mom took me out of public school and put me into private school. And the school was called St. Joe's in Collinwood.
Okay.
So it was like a K through 8 school, St. Joseph, but it was in the Collinwood area.
Okay.
So Collinwood would have been the public high school that I would have went to once I moved out of the John Adams area. Um, they had a great player too. His name is Vince Perkins. He ended up playing for Iowa University. Um, so I I had all of these people to look up to. Glenville High School was right up the street. They had, they always had athletes there, always.
Especially football athletes. Ted
And
Ginn, everybody come up out of there.
absolutely. I mean, they're known because of Ted Ginn as far as nationally, but as far as in the city, uh, we talk about the basketball players that come from. Absolutely. I mean, they pound for pound, they probably had some of the best athletes. Cleveland in general, because in the East High days, you
Right.
had some players that played at Ohio State and that were very successful. One of them played for the Cleveland Browns. Uh, Mike St. Clair
Hmm.
played for went to East High School. I don't remember what college, but I'm a pretty good student of the game. So um, we play our games from St. Joe's and Conwood at St. Joseph High School. So all the little uh, parochial schools in the area all had time slots and they had two different courts. So we wouldn't play on the main court. We go to side buckets. But I was tearing those side buckets down to the point where everybody would gather around our games anytime we played because we had the coach with the combat boots that made the loudest noise and they had a kid that could dunk the basketball.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remember I was in the sixth grade and I was able to play on the eighth grade team because we didn't have enough kids to try out. And the coach, which in my mind was a scout, came up to me and said, "Hey, son, you're pretty good." He said, "Where you going to school next year?" I said, "Oh, I won't." Uh, I'm sorry. He never asked me. He spoke to the nun. This story has been told so much. Um, he went up to our head nun and asked her, "What school will he be attending next year?" And she said, "Oh, he'll be back at Little St. Joe's." And so he goes, "Oh, okay," thinking I'm a seventh grader. He says, "Okay, well, what school will he be going to after that?" He says, "Oh, he'll be back again." "Excuse me, ma'am?" She says, "Yeah, he's only in the sixth grade." And he's like, "Oh my gosh." So then he comes up to me and he says, "Son, you see that jersey?" And I looked down, I said, "Yeah." I said, "St. Joseph." He says, "You're going to be wearing that jersey for the next 8 years."
Really?
Basically telling me, "You're coming here."
Wow.
And what kind of sold me on it is I went to a couple basketball games. And so as I was coming and really noticing, that's when a guy by the name of Kevin Edwards, who only played 1 year of high school basketball, ended up going to Lakeland Community College or either Baldwin Wallace, and he was on the JV. And then the next year he went to DePaul.
Mm.
And from DePaul, he went on to play for the Miami Heat in the NBA. He has all kind of posters with Jordan is dunking on him or taking him to the basket or something. But who didn't Jordan do that to?
Right.
So yeah, but he was one of the guys that I looked at because he wore number 34. And I was like, that's the number I want to wear because of the way he played. Then I went to another. My cousin took me to East Cleveland Shaw High School to watch a guy by the name of Greg Bell, and he was just so nasty with
Yeah.
it. I mean, tip dunks, reversed. I mean, all kind of things. I was like, that just stamped and confirmed that 34 will be the number that I'm wearing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was just one of those things where I just fell in love with the culture. I fell in love with the people around the game. I fell in love with the camaraderie. And then I was a shy kid, as I mentioned before, growing up. So I didn't speak much. I had a stuttering problem. But when I got on the basketball court, it was the only place that made me feel comfortable enough to
Right.
be who I was. And I started to build an identity from that.
Mm.
And people started to look at me different than that kid that was being chased home every day,
Right.
or that kid that was being made fun of when I opened up the book to read it. Those things were the things that like inspired me to say, I think I can do this. Like, this is something that I think can bring something to me, not only the satisfaction of playing well, but bring more substance to my character.
Let me ask a question. And I like the fact that you're telling your story, man. I can see you going back in time, going, damn,
Uh,
damn. What
yeah,
was
it's
it?
bringing back some memories that
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even think about.
What's it like? You know, I can only imagine what you must have been going through growing up just to this part of your life. And
Uh,
now you're transitioning into a young adult because you're getting ready to go into your senior year, you're developing, you see what you want to be, but you're still an only child. How, when you're using that basketball to kind of build your world, what's it like at the end of the day when you get done and you see yourself developing, but you don't have any siblings? Who are you sharing this the pain, the calamity, the whole 9 yards of what you're going through?
that's that part when you value friendship.
Okay.
My because I went to well, first of all, let me also say I chose to go to St. Joe's specifically because I knew I needed more structure. I could not attend a co-ed school and think that I was going to graduate on time.
Now that's kind of strange that you said that. And I think the
Uh,
viewers need to know that you, at that young age, you're not a senior yet. You knew you
yeah.
needed structure. What made you think that you needed structure at that age?
So this is kind of going back a little bit too. As I said, I was growing up with my cousins and things, and
Mm,
so we had that dynamic where I had cousins that was my age,
yeah.
and then their brothers and sisters were my mom's age.
Okay.
So those older ones would kind of they had an influence of a big brother sense to me, but at the same time, some of the things that was left around that we were able to get into and things weren't conducive
Right.
to a young kid developing properly.
Okay.
I mean, I had access to sexual material, explicit material. I had access to, as I said, drugs. I had access to alcohol if I wanted it. We had access to a lot of different things that would be considered internet type stuff now.
Right.
Whereas because that side of town was so rough, um, it developed me to the point where I knew my sexual identity. I knew what I liked. I knew more than what I probably should have known at that age. But it was almost like a perversion for a period of time. Because, when you're going through that adolescent stage where you're
Hmm.
starting to develop as a young man,
Yeah.
you know, um, if you don't have anyone to speak to you from a man's point of view, you go through these things and you play them out in real time.
Right.
And
Whether they're
then
good, bad, or ugly.
or ugly or indifferent,
Right.
and it's not until, you get around some men and they start talking about things and they say, no, that's not stuff that you're supposed to do. Or yes, that is stuff that you're supposed to do. Or this is how you're supposed to act. And I was a student of the game. When I say a student, like every time I went to the playground and I saw somebody I respected, I would gravitate around them.
Mm,
If I didn't ask them specific questions about life or basketball, I would just wanted to be in their presence so I could hear and feel what was going on from a man's point of view. So I learned a lot of things from the streets,
mm-hmm.
good, bad, and indifferent.
Okay.
And with those learning things, I understood that women were a trigger for me.
Okay.
And as far as focusing, I had to put on a facade every time I was around one because on the court, I'm natural, I'm me, but off the court, I'm very awkward still.
Okay. Okay. So let's move a little forward. You get into high school. You're a senior. Now, what transpires your senior year? Now you've really done good with the game, but now you're getting ready to go into college. But tell me about your senior year before and how that led into you going to Ohio State.
So I really wasn't looking at Ohio State as my first choice. I think the University of Kentucky was. I had Kentucky on my watch list. So I went to visit Providence. Rick Pitino was the coach at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at Kentucky because their style of play fit my game. Louisville, Denny Crum, legendary coach. Their style fit my game. And DePaul and Syracuse were my top five choices.
Mm.
I went to visit Kentucky, UK. I went to visit Providence, and my coach made me go visit Ohio State.
They wasn't on your radar.
It was on my radar because I knew Gary Williams' background in the Big East. He came from Boston College.
Right.
And I knew he liked to go up and down. He liked to press. He liked to play fast paced basketball, which that was my style of play. I mean, I love going up and down the court. I was an athlete. I love running, dunking, and doing all those different things.
IU
So
wasn't on the list.
I let my high school coach handle that. They they were recruiting me very, very heavy.
Really? Bobby Knight?
Yeah, Bobby Knight was recruiting me very heavy. A lot of people don't know some of the things that went on during that game that we'll talk about later, but
Okay, yeah.
I'll share that with you later. But yeah, they were recruiting me very heavy. And so it wasn't until when I went to visit Kentucky, I felt like a superstar.
Really?
I mean, yeah, because they know the process of the recruiting uh, as far as the students. So I went to a football game. I mean, usually you go to a football game if that's the around the time that you go. I wanted to sign early. I didn't want that to linger. Um, I didn't sign real early, but I waited till school was in
Mm-hmm.
before I signed. And so I went to visit Kentucky when it was myself and a guy by the name of LaRon Ellis.
Okay.
And LaRon ended up, as soon as he got off the plane going back home, he announced that he was going to UK. They offered me, I do have to say this, Kentucky gave me the best visit of my life. Um, Stevie Wonder was my all-time favorite. Dwayne Casey was the assistant coach that recruited me,
Right.
and so he asked me on a phone conversation, "Who's my favorite artist?" And I happened to say Stevie Wonder, right? And I get there, they don't tell me anything. After the football game, we go to get. Uh, he says, "Hey, also when you come, I want you to bring something nice. I mean, it doesn't have to be a suit or anything. Just bring something nice." I said,
Right.
"Okay." So after the football game, he tells me go change into that outfit I told you. I'll be there to pick you up at a certain time. He comes pick me up. It's the Stevie Wonder concert at Rump Arena.
Wow.
I got to sit in like maybe first five rows, and then got to go backstage and actually speak and shake hands with Stevie Wonder.
Now, isn't that against NCAA basketball violence?
Did I say that? Did I say that out loud? No, no. It was part of the recruiting
That's a
visit.
serious recruitment right there to get your favorite.
Man, listen. I mean, to take you to a concert, I don't think that
Yeah.
has anything to do with basketball. But now, if they had put money in my hands,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, I'm sure that would have been a little bit of a violation. But it's funny that you mentioned that because after I leave UK, I told somebody, I said, man, they just promised me so much stuff, and they were gonna move my mom to Cincinnati because I got family in
Yeah.
Cincinnati. And I just don't know if this sounds right. And sure enough, they got caught the very next year with the Chris Mills situation with the money in the FedEx
Yeah.
package that they claim was partially open.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons. But the reason I did go to Ohio State was because it was similar to my high school team. Jerry Francis took me out on my recruiting visit, and he just made me feel like a part of the family.
Really?
You know, they weren't that popular at the time. Brad Sellers had just left. Dennis Hobson was still there. So they had Dennis Hobson, Curtis Wilson, and Jay Burson were like their stars, so to speak. And uh, he just made me feel like welcome. You know, the team wasn't as tight, but I could see where they were going as far as his mentality because I was going to be coming in under him, and he was a junior. So I would have been with him for 2 years,
Okay.
and that really made a strong impact on me. And then the other recruit, Eli Brewster, we became really good friends. He was the number one guard in the state of Ohio, one of the top 50 players in the country, McDonald's All American, and I was the number one player in the state of Ohio. And we developed a friendship, and our lives were like that situation when you meet somebody for the first time,
And you just click.
and then you just click.
Yeah. Yeah.
Baseball, I was a natural, but I love basketball.
Right.
Baseball, he loved, but basketball, he was phenomenal.
And you saw the future right there as soon as you got on the court. You saw the talent.
We would have been the first two players to stay, Mr. Basketball, so to speak,
Right.
to stay
That is too crazy. Ohio State didn't
since.
offer you a concert tour or tickets or anything like that. Off the record.
Well, well, I will say that Coach Williams did come and pick me up from the airport by the lake, Lakefront Airport. I didn't have to go to the regular airport. So they
Okay.
came in a propeller plane and picked me up, and I flew on my official visit with Gary Williams back to Columbus. So that was kind of cool. Um, the recruiting coach then, it's funny how these names become big coaches now,
Yeah.
was Rick Barnes.
Okay.
Rick Barnes ended up going to Texas and doing really well, and now he's at another school and he's still doing really well. But he was the type of guy that could sell you land in the middle of Lake Erie, and I'm from Cleveland. I know ain't no land there, but he sold it to me. So
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been part one of an exciting episode with the general himself, Mr. Treg Lee. We're going to come back with part two of his journey in one of the biggest basketball tournaments ever, the 1991 Big Ten Championship, on the Andre the Beast Crayton show. One, two, three. Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show. And we're back with part two of the journey to the Big Ten Championships, 1991, with the one, the only, the general himself. Not that shit you be seeing with Shaquille O'Neal, the real general, Mr. Treg Lee. Welcome back for part two, big dog.
how you doing, my brother?
Okay, so let's start right now. You're at Ohio State. What's about to take place?
So as I came into Ohio State, I was Proposition 48, where you can't play your first year because of the ACT, SAT scores. So we got into some bad habits. I played my first year under Gary Williams. I was positioned to play the three and the four. Had a decent year coming in. A couple highlights where I jumped over a couple people, but for the most part, it was pretty much like a freshman year, so to speak.
Right.
And then going into that second year, we found out that Gary was being recruited to go back to his alma mater, Maryland. as the head coach. Um, he had a team meeting with everyone stating that if we didn't hear it from him, that it wasn't true.
Right.
And then come to find out the very next day, it was announced on ESPN that he had decided to take the job in Maryland.
How did that
So
make you? How did that make you feel? It's bad enough that you're recruited as the best at what you do. Now you got to sit the bench. Now it's your time to get on the court, and now your boy's walking out the door. How do you keep that? How do you keep that beast mentality going forward?
it was very difficult. I'm gonna tell you the truth. We all fought for the assistant coach at the time, Randy Ayers, who ended up being the first black coach at Ohio State,
Mm-hmm.
and that felt kind of as a consolation prize, so to speak. But as the season began that very next year, it wasn't favorable in my eyes.
Right.
Some of the things that I did the year prior, I wasn't allowed to do the very next season. Now, my teammates and I have spoke about this after the fact, but he was 33 years old when he got the job at Ohio State.
Wow.
I mean, that's very young for a head coach. And the Big Ten or any conference for that matter, when you talk about Division I coaches. So he wasn't very favorable in my eyes, but I had to regroup. So my junior year didn't feel like I gained any ground at all.
Right.
So then going into my senior year, I reached out to a couple of people that I ended up as my mentor. Ronnie Stokes previously played at Ohio State, and I talked to him distinctively about basically transferring.
I was just getting ready to ask that. Did you think about transferring?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It wasn't something that I was into like they are nowadays. I mean,
Yeah.
kids transfer from school to school. It seems like every year.
Right.
So I'm built from that old school mentality. You know, I wanted to stick it out. I wanted to make it work. And coach got a hold of it. And then Ronnie calls me up and says, "Hey, Coach Ed says it's your position to lose. So you have that starting job. It's all up to you." I'm like, I should have had it from the
Wait a minute, General. Wait a minute, General. What you say? You should have had it from the beginning.
I should have had it from the beginning.
Yeah,
Are you serious?
I mean, yeah, like what mindset should you be coming at them with? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, but you know, in retrospect, you know, we talk about my upbringing and not having that male figure and that male role model in your life to correct you or guide you in ways that you should go. And I think that had a lot to do with it. I think Randy didn't think I was ready my junior year, to be
Okay.
honest. Academically, I wasn't ineligible, but you know, there were some classes I was struggling in. Ohio State gave us plenty of help, so I never had an issue academically. But at the same time, um, you know, some of those big lectures with, you know, 500 plus people in a class, you know, you might walk in the front door and slide out the back.
I've been there and done that.
Yeah, you know, and just leave your
Yeah.
recording there. So hopefully you don't fall asleep when you do listen to it, you know. But it was a lot of dynamics that happened, but for the most part, I loved my teammates. We came in like a brotherhood. So after my first year, we got a guy by the name of Tom Brandewy, we got a guy by the name of Steve Hall, and we got Chris Gent. That next year, Mark Baker also came, but he was Proposition 48. Mark Baker was our point guard from Dayton Dunbar. I played against him in the state championship, and they ended up taking us out. Him and Kurt Taylor. Kurt Taylor ended up going to Michigan. Mark Baker came to Ohio State. They were the best back court in the state,
Right.
and we were the best front court in the state. We had 6'11", 6'10", and 6'8" in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So we were ranked number 3 by USA Today, which is now like the USA rankings, or I should say the ESPN rankings. So I had some good players come in, and then Jim Jackson came in. As we came in, myself and Eli, Perry Carter was my teammate. We came in as well. He was from DC. He was also a McDonald's All American. Chris Gent was a McDonald's All American. Jimmy Jackson was a McDonald's All American. Mark Baker was a McDonald's All American.
That's a lot of Big Macs on the court, dog.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Who's the quarter pounder, the double quarter pounder? I guess that's you. You got to run.
Well, we also had a guy come in during our first year playing. His name is Jamal Brown from Texas. This kid was not recruited, and I don't know how Division I schools missed him, but I'm so glad they did, because he became one of my best friends, my roommate, my senior year, and he's just a quality guy. You know, his kids call me Uncle Treg. I mean, I got them officiating basketball with me today. But anyway, we had a very close-knit group. We had a young kid from another kid from Dayton came in, Jamie Skelton. We had the big boy from Kent McKinley's, 7-footers, name is Bill Robinson. I did battle with him in high school. And then Alex Davis was from Forest Park in Cincinnati. So we had a big nucleus of Ohio kids, with Chris Gent being from New Jersey, Perry Carter being from DC, and I can't think of any other outside. Jamal being from Texas, and everybody else being from in-state. And we just developed a friendship. It's funny, back then we didn't have cell phones or anything, but we all kind of connected with one another, and would go out together, and we did things together. We went to clubs together. I mean, a lot of the things, when you do those type of things together, and we had the keys to the gym at any time, and we could go in St. John's and organize games and stuff. And that's what we did. And I think that's why we had so much success when it comes to our my senior year.
How did you guys manage to overlook the new coaching and really focus on the tournament itself? You know, because you played in one of the best Big Ten championships ever. How did you guys say, okay, look, let's come together. We on the mission. When did the mission actually take place for you guys to say, we got this talent, now let's go put it to use?
I think during the Big Ten season, because Dick Vitale used to really talk about our schedule as being a cupcake schedule. I mean, we played like, Youngstown State, Townsend State. So it was a lot of AA Division I schools, that didn't get a lot of notoriety. Kent State, Youngstown State. So I think those were confidence type games. But I think when we got into the Big Ten, I remember we had a run that second part of the Big Ten, because you play everybody twice. And we really came together to the point where it was a different player each game that pulled the game out for us.
When you say to pull the game out for you, you've been in the sport for quite some time. You've seen all these McDonald quarter pounders and Big Macs and supersizes on the court. Who was the one in particular player that was on your team that lived up to the hype?
I would definitely have to say Jim Jackson.
Why you say that?
Jimmy Jackson came in highly touted, and he delivered. from his freshman debut. Uh, his freshman year, he won Freshman of the Year, and then from then he was all Big Ten each year, whether it be second team and then first team or whatever the case may be. He came in not trying to do too much. He came in like a man child,
Hmm.
but his game fit all of our games. We were all unselfish. We could all score. We could all do multiple things. We could all play multiple positions. And I think that was the catalyst. And Jimmy was not one of those arrogant type of guys. I definitely wasn't because my biggest attribute I thought was the fact that I could face the basket and play as a smaller player,
Hmm.
even though I had the body and the capabilities to play as a power player. But I love passing. I love getting my teammates involved. I love doing the nuances of the game that help you win the game. They may not show up on the stat sheet, but I think that's one of the reasons I was probably selected in high school as McDonald's All American because I have a triple double. And not too many high school players can do that. But when you got two 7-footers playing with you, it's not that difficult either. But yeah, Jimmy just came in as a man child. And I mean, he had the body of a football player and he was just steady. He
what
was just
what game did it take for you guys on this road to the 91 Big Ten championship that you looked at and said, or who looked at a particular game and says, okay, we can win this?
Well, I'll put it to you like this. I think it happened our junior year. Our junior year in the tournament, we came together and we really pulled out some games. But mostly in a tournament. Alex Davis ended up hurting his knee, but he was really our leading scorer up until the tournament. He had a pure jump shot. Him and Jimmy was back and forth as far as who would lead one game. We pulled out the Providence game. Alex hit a three with like no time left to beat Providence in the tournament. And that's when I think it opened some doors for us. That same year, 1990, is when we played UNLV the next game in the tournament.
Mm.
If you look at that 1990 run that UNLV had, we played them the best basketball that they had in that entire tournament. And Jerry Tarkanian got on national TV and admitted that. And I think that's when we knew we had something special. So that summer was when we really worked out together as a team.
Hmm.
We never walked in that gym with someone not being there. And that was a commitment that we all made because it had nothing to do with coaches.
Hmm.
It was just open gym. We picked up the teams. We bought players from outside and allowed them to come play with us. But for the most part, our nucleus was always there. And I think that's when we realized we had something special.
When you got the opportunity to play against, you're at the Big Ten championship right now. You're at the championship. You guys made it there. What's going through your mind now? Now you got to play Indiana for this Big Ten championship. What's going through your mind? How do you attack that game? You're the general now. That's what they named you. They're going to you for this leadership, not Jimmy. They're going to you. What do you tell them? This is the big game right here.
It's time to put up big draws on. It's time to put up big draws on. It's time to go out and do it we work so hard for. You know, we already have that camaraderie. We already have that unspoken language. We already know each other inside and out. When they see me do like this, they already know to throw it anywhere around that from the top of the square on down, and I will go get it. We had trust. We had it was just a combination of everyone just coming together, but we made each person accountable for their part. And if and the closeness, the brotherhood just started to build game by game, game by game. Um, I would not trade anything for playing with the brothers that I played with. Absolutely.
You get ready to play Bobby Knight. He's the general. He's the general. What kind of preparations did you guys do when you went in to play that game? Bobby Knight is Mr. Basketball. What were the fears that you guys had to overcome?
I mean, to be honest with you, that year we didn't have any fears in the Big Ten just because of the way our run went. I remember the Wisconsin game, Mark Baker pulled out. The Minnesota game, Perry Carter pulled out. Uh, the Indiana game at Indiana, Jamal Brown shot the lights out and he pulled it out for us. So everybody had something to add each game, and we knew that we could count on one another. Going into that Indiana game, because we handled them so well and it's so hard to play at Assembly Hall, I mean, that's one of the toughest places to play. My 2 years prior to that,
what makes Assembly Hall so difficult to play in?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But what makes it so difficult to play in Assembly Hall?
The fans, the arena, the noise, but I don't even think about coaches. I don't think about anything when I'm out on the court. So Bobby Knight had no bearing on anything. But I will say this: going into that Indiana game, we had a lot of expectations. We knew what was on the line. We knew we had to beat them to win it outright. And in layup line, Bobby Knight came up to me and pulled me out of layup line. And he said to me, he said, Jay, I just want to let you know I'm proud of you because I received most improved player that year from
Right.
my expectations up until that year was when I finally broke out and started to become a honorable mention All-American. And so going through that, and I think in any other situation, it might have froze me a little bit.
Right.
And I might have been thinking a lot like, wow, Bobby Knight is pulling me out of this line to talk to me and say things. But I was so dialed in and so focused on what the game plan was at hand that it was just a regular conversation that I would have had with you, say, if I saw you at a game and hey,
But how did that really make you feel after the fact? We won't talk about like I know you had to go back and the players was like, what the heck did he talk to you about?
It was one of those situations where it was just like I felt like the hard work and where I came from and what I had to go through. I thought he was basically sincere in his congratulations of me, and he wanted to let me know that he voted for me for newcomer player of the year. And I just took it as that. I went back in the line and I refocused, and all the things that transpired through that game, I look back on afterwards, 30, 35 years later, and I'm like, wow.
Take
That
me, take
that
take the viewers down that moment. The game is getting ready to start. This is it. This is the marbles. This is the opportunity you've been waiting for. Give us a little bit of the play-by-play on that game, the key moments to you.
Well, to be honest with you, I thought it was obviously a big game for us, but because we handled them so well at their place, I know we were going to smack them at ours. But it didn't end up being a smack. We kind of went back and forth, and that was a game that Damon Bailey really emerged
Okay.
as a standout in a college game because he played his butt off at the end of that game, and he kept them in it because I fouled Calvert Cheney out. So through the course of the game, when our point guard went down, did I feel like the announcers did of the game when they said, I think that Vital made a comment saying that I don't think that Ohio State can beat Indiana without Mark Baker,
Right.
uh, because he was one of the best point guards in the Big Ten. And I didn't feel that way at all because there were some tools that I wasn't using that I could have easily pulled out of my bag, that I hadn't used since I got there, except for under Gary Williams.
Right.
So I just think we all just kind of came together, and it really made me say, okay, it's time to step up now. Um, and so
When
we
did
went.
hey, check this out. When did okay, so you guys have beat Indiana before, but
Yeah.
now you stepping in Assembly Hall. Okay, let's be real. You guys' chest is pumped up. You know what I mean? Overconfidence happened, but when did the deflations set in and you guys go, holy crap, these Hoosiers is really giving us a run for our money?
Well, see, the thing that got us is that the first game was at Assembly Hall, and we handled it. And I think Bobby was very upset. I know he was yelling at them most of that game and most of those huddles. But Jamal just had a great shooting day, man, and it just made our job that much easier when you got somebody shooting it so good from the outside, and we can score on the inside. We were pretty uh, matched up really well with Indiana. I think we had the advantage. Obviously, we had the better athletes. Howard Chaney was a heck of a ball player, but I think him and Jimmy canceled each other out. Damon Bailey emerged that game. Eric Anderson was a formidable big man, and Perry Carter. My job was to check uh, Eric Anderson, but Eric was checking Perry on the other end, and they didn't have an answer for me at all. I mean, they didn't have anybody size wise or strength wise that could do anything that I could do. So I thought we had an advantage from that standpoint. And then we had Chris Gent,
Mm.
who ended up playing, who is now the assistant coach for the Lakers, and he played in the NBA for a little bit with Houston Rockets. He's got a national championship. I'm sorry, world championship.
Yeah.
So I thought we had a better supporting cast than they did. So I really wasn't worried that game, but as it got down to that last uh, final 5 to 2 minutes,
Yeah.
it became a slugfest, and they were winning, and we had to keep coming back and keep coming back. And when Jimmy put it in overtime, I said, "Okay, we're in for a dogfight now because it's two more overtimes."
Right.
And that was a very exciting game. Now, at the time, I didn't think that game was anything spectacular or anything because this is what I do.
Right.
These are the things that I've been doing my whole career. It's just that it finally is coming to fruition at the college level.
So then what happens? You in the overtime.
So we're in the
Take us down
overtime.
your moment.
I am very locked in. I noticed that they put I think it was the guard that played they put one of the guards on me, and he was a very long guard, but you know, so as soon as I got it, one of my idols was Elvin Hayes as well, and Elvin Hayes had that turnaround jump shot. So I had perfected that in high school. So as soon as I got it, I didn't hesitate. I just turned around, jumped over him, shot it, and that was the shot that put us into the second overtime because they never scored again after that.
Wow.
So we go into the second overtime, and it's one of those things where I was kind of getting a little bit of a flashback from high school. I played in a game in Cincinnati that went into 6 overtimes. And I was like, we're not doing that again.
That's a lot of overtime. 6?
6 overtimes.
Wow. Yeah.
My only claim to fame is, well, we did win the game, but I didn't foul out. So, but it was one of those type of games. So college basketball is played at a higher level than high school. The players are better. You're exerting more energy. So I was getting that feeling of that 6 overtime. If you get where I'm going, But that last play, uh, it's called wide right, and Jimmy ran wide right, and as soon as he started, I noticed that they started to push a player up to double team him on that wide right so that he couldn't turn that corner, get into the lane, and do that little runner that he did
Mm-hmm.
because never scored another point in overtime. It was all of the rest of us that picked up the slack. And we made a little eye contact, and he took his eyes off of me. And I knew he saw me from then on. No matter what he did, I knew he saw me. So as he penetrated, I just kind of moved with him, and I kind of broke past. I think it was Eric Anderson or one of the big guys, Matt Nover, one of them, and I broke past him and caught right in that slit. And once he went up, he never looked at me the whole time, but I knew the ball was coming. And once I caught it, um, I didn't know how much time was on the clock at that particular time. I was just like, okay, now, my first instinct, if I see another player open, is to pass the basketball.
Right.
That's just my nat- my natural inclination. And I went up and I saw Perry Carter standing up underneath the basket, but Perry has hands of stone. So if you don't throw it to him perfect, he's not going to catch it. And I'm like, it's better for him to get a rebound than it is
Yeah.
for me to try to zip him a pass. So I just basically shot the ball, nice little touch. I said, oh, yeah, that should be good. And the ball went in. I didn't think anything of it. It was still a couple seconds on the clock. So they came down to try to shoot another shot. But that was the shot they wanted. And the shot hurt round Ohio as the biggest shot in Ohio State basketball history at the time.
That is remarkable. So, okay, you do all this. Now, let's go a little quick journey down after that shot heard around Ohio. Now it's time for the NBA draft. Did you go into the draft? Tell us a little about your professional career.
Well, I'm at home. I'm expected to go anywhere from mid to late first round. And I got a call from my agent, and he let it be known that we'll probably have to go the free agent route. But I got a couple teams for you already lined up and everything. So I went to Charlotte. Um, I worked out with Charlotte. But before that, even I went to the pre-draft camp and all that kind of stuff, and I did okay at the pre-draft camp. Didn't do as well as I would have liked to do.
Mm-hmm.
Have gone to secure everything, but at the same time, a lot of the things that I had done growing up was coming into fruition when it comes to stress and things like that. And now I'm starting to look for other avenues to release that stress instead of talking to my mentors, instead of looking to my father or
Right.
some type of father figure.
Mm-hmm.
So those things started to become a situation where someone could become not so much an addict, but a functioning addict,
I
where
got
they
you.
don't even realize that what they're doing is addict type behavior.
Mm-hmm. Self destruction.
So absolutely. So that, in my opinion, stunted my growth as far as going to that next level. Um, those are the blueprints I think you need when it comes to, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't put that effort in early on to mitigate all of the things that are distractions in your life, and for each person it's different. You know, I know people that uh, went to my high school. We have a very successful high school. Like I can name names. Like when I played at my senior years myself, one of the guys' name was John Buford. He went to Ohio University. Eric Riley played for Michigan. Ended up playing in the NBA. Got a world championship ring with the Houston Rockets with my other teammate, Chris Gent. Um, we had Desmond Howard, the Heisman Trophy winner from Michigan, the Super Bowl MVP
Yeah.
with the Green Bay Packers. We had Elvis Gerback was the quarterback
Michigan.
for Michigan, ended
Yeah.
up playing for the Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers. I mean, London Fletcher is the one I wanted to mention.
Florida State.
No, London Fletcher came from my high school, went to John Carroll University,
Okay.
and went to the at the time were they the St. Louis Rams, Los Angeles Rams. They've
Okay.
always been the
I
Rams.
remember the name. I just
He
forgot
was
the
a
school.
middle linebacker.
Middle linebacker. Yeah.
He's the middle linebacker, and they won the Super Bowl one year while he was at middle linebacker. So we got a lot of successful. Bob Golick is one of the originals around Clark's time that came out of St. Joe's. His brother Bob Golick. Um, yeah, we got a pretty good list
That's a
of
pedigree.
great pedigree when it comes to basketball and football that comes out of our high school. But London, the reason I was mentioning him is that his mom was addicted to crack cocaine when he was in high school, and he came through St. Joe's, went on to John Carroll, a small college, and ended up getting taken in the free agency with the Los Angeles Rams, and you know his story now. So it just goes to show that people can overcome things like that when it's embedded in your family and your upbringing.
But you also played overseas. Tell me about your overseas career.
I was a great fit for overseas. I was a culture type guy. I'm the type of guy I love people. Each country I went to, I dipped into the culture. My first place, I went to Italy. I was in Naples, Italy. The other American was supposed to be Walter Berry, but it ended up being the Cliff Robinson that came out with Magic Johnson from USC. So that was my teammate. We played that first year. I had to get so in my mind, I'm already acclimated to the NBA style play,
Right.
and then trying to adjust to the European style of play was a completely different uh, breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn the game from that standpoint all over again because it was a different game. You know, when the ball hits on the rim in any way, if it touches the rim, you can knock it off. You don't have to wait until it comes off the cylinder or anything. So you can basically not goaltend, but you can basket interference
Mm-hmm.
in Europe. Um, the assists aren't the same as well. Like you have to catch and score. There is no one dribble and all that like in the NBA where you can dribble the ball. Um, and the rules are pretty much like high school when it comes to putting the ball down on the floor and making a move.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take that step and put it down. You got to put it down first. And so those were some big adjustments that I had to get used to. But once my second year, let me add this in there. So that's coming from Italy. I came home. Um, the season was over early. I was released actually. They released because we weren't winning on the road, but we
Right.
were winning home. So it was one of those adjustment periods. So they brought in Alex English that played for the Denver Nuggets,
I
and
remember that name. Yeah.
and he was the old Alex English.
Okay.
So I was putting my foot in his chest every practice to let them know they should not be getting rid of me. But if he's over there, he's gonna play.
Right.
So after getting released, that was a big letdown as far as uh, I was concerned. So I asked my agent. I was drafted by a team in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm like, that's like being in Italy. Can you get me traded somewhere on the East Coast or Midwest? So he got me traded to Grand Rapids, Michigan. I played for them. Starting off playing for them, you before your first game, you have to take a drug test.
Mm-hmm.
I took the drug test. I played for them the whole month, and then I got traded to Fort Wayne, where I met back up with my McDonald's All-American partner, Jay Edwards. So we played together at Fort Wayne for a little bit, and then they called me in the office and they said, Treg, you need to uh, go report to the NBA office tomorrow. They have someone coming in and talk to you. And that's when I found out that I tested positive on that drug test.
Wow.
And that I had to make a commitment to either go into so right now I'm banned from the NBA until I either seek treatment through the John Lucas treatment program that's connected with the NBA, or I can go on my own and do what I want to do. So I chose to do the right thing, and I went to the John Lucas treatment program.
Congratulations on that.
Yes, absolutely. That saved my life. In the long run, it ended up saving my life because I got educated on what drug addiction is. I had no idea.
Let me ask a question. And how bad was the addiction for you? Even though you was functional, like you already said you was functional, but now going back and looking at that you went through the NBA treatment plan and looking at your life when you was in that plan, how bad was your life really at that time? Looking back.
That's a very good, interesting question because I didn't think so. Every time we would have meetings, I would introduce myself as, I would say my name and I would say, I'm a drug abuser, not a drug addict or a drug, because I didn't feel as though there was any consequences that I had suffered, but yet and still I'm there.
Yeah.
So I was very oblivious and very naive to what addiction was. I wasn't hardcore. I would use recreationally with friends and this, that, and the other, but being a professional athlete and dealing with the demographics that go with it, like sometimes it seems like, when you play sports, drugs, women and things of that nature, it's like it all kind of coincides together unless you decide to separate these particular things. Mm-hmm. If you allow it, it will consume you. The lifestyle can definitely consume you. I really, so what was profound for me was when I was with John Lucas, we were preparing a team to play in the USBL Summer League, which is a professional league for people who are trying to get looked at in the NBA during the summer. Mm-hmm. The team consists of myself, a guy by the name of Richard Dumas, a guy by the name of Dwayne Washington, whose son recently played for Ohio State, who's now in the NBA, a guy by the name of Roy Tarpley, that his career is very mapped out as far as his highs and lows when it comes to the treatment program in the NBA, and we became very good friends. Ken Bannister played for the New York Knicks. Chris Washburn played for the Atlanta Hawks, who had a substantial drug problem. And a couple more players I might be missing. Kim Bannister, Roy Tarpley, Dwayne Washington, myself, Richard Dumas, who ended up playing with Charles Barkley and made that run for the World Championship when Barkley was with the Phoenix Suns. So we all were in a professional team USBL in Miami, Florida.
Mm.
You taking a drug rehab team to Miami, Florida. That's
MIA.
when, that's when I realized
Yeah,
how dysfunction and how my life was really out of control.
really.
Because now that I'm with all these other addicts, I can't stop. I took pride in during basketball season, I would never touch anything. But when the season's over with, I would. I would indulge here and there recreationally, and we couldn't stop. It was like it was like a soap opera. I really do wish we had reality TV back then because we would have had some serious stories going on. It
When
was
did
a
you
bunch of
realize? When did you realize enough is enough? You got to get your shit together.
oh my gosh, that was when I retired from playing. Period. My life spiraled to the point where I didn't have basketball to hide behind. Um, it became difficult to support my habit and still maintain the everyday uh, lifestyle. Uh, it just was hell. I was in and out of, I probably got locked up 3 times. First times for maybe a couple days. Second time was for a couple weeks. And then third time was for a couple months. And when I stayed in Cuyahoga County Jail for 3 months, God was basically waking me up. I didn't need to go lower than that. That was
Gotcha.
low enough for me. And that was my wake up. And he basically gave me my life back.
Where are you?
Uh,
Where are you at now? Where are you at now? You're, in my eyes, you have turned your life around. With what you've gone through, you've overcome a lot of adversities, but there was also a lot of triumphs along that path. Where are you at now with who you are as the guy that took the game out of overtime, the guy that had the opportunities and took those opportunities? Family man, tell the viewers where you at now.
well, I have a beautiful wife. We've been married 6 years. I have three amazing grandchildren. Um, I live in Columbus. I work. Um, I own a company called General Lee Sports, where I started training, doing individual skills and fundamentals with kids.
Hmm.
Uh, I got into a brother-in-law got me into officiating, and I thought it was a great way to recruit kids to train.
Right.
And because of my popularity, it blew up into something that I never even
Dreamed about.
foresaw.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So I mentor officials, I train officials, and then I brought baseball into it as well because of my baseball background. I started umpiring. Um, I am doing tournaments, baseball tournaments, and I've started a mentoring program, but I also assign for the city schools in the Columbus area. I'm an assigner for baseball for Ohio High School Athletic Association. I'm
Hmm.
a certified assigner. I've been doing that I've been officiating basketball for, this will be my 21st year.
Wow.
I've been officiating uh, baseball for, this will be my uh, 16th year. Um, I'm known around this this central Ohio, northeast Ohio, um, as a guy that just cares about the kids. I also work during the day at a autistic school.
Mm-hmm.
for kids that are on the spectrum. And it's just very rewarding, man. I love kids. I love giving back. As I said, when I was growing up in the playgrounds, I learned a lot from the older men that guided me and gave me good wisdom and knowledge. And I try to do that with these kids nowadays.
How can the viewers reach out to you for your services?
There's a few websites that I'm on, but they can just contact me through email. I have business cards and things like that that I hand out. I take packs of them to my games and stuff,
Okay.
and I just throw them in my back pocket. And I mean, most of the kids around, they kind of know who I am already,
Right.
but for the most part, if someone is oblivious, maybe a mom, single mom, and their kid is into sports, and I'm like, hey, this kid has a future. I mean, and if you work with him now with me, it would make it easier on you because you wouldn't have to pay so much
Right.
to put him in the AAU because they'll be calling you. Please, can we have your son this weekend? You don't have to pay anything. We'll take care of him. So it's one of those type of things where I just try to help people who can really, if they have that inclination or I see something in them that they're good kids, but maybe they just don't have the right direction. I mean, I try to be that one to step in and and offer my services.
I like that. Before we leave the viewers with the greatest lesson that you've ever learned in your life that helped you become the man that you are today.
Basically, when you're going through something in life, um, you can't do anything without the man upstairs. I have a very strong relationship with God. I believe that Jesus died for my sins, and without him, I um, will not have an eternal life. I also know that if there is a person who is not a believer or what have you, at least believe in a higher power and know that with this big design of our lives, we are we're social beings, and if you're going through something, you really need to have someone that you can talk to. I talk to God every day, but I also talk to my wife, and I have other influencers that I can reach out to that may specialize in a certain area of my life. God has really blessed me. One thing I do want to say is I got saved when I was 16 years old. And when I went away from that, um, or I should say when I was saved, everything came to me. I had an outstanding high school career. I was embedded in the Lord. Things were going right. My first year at college, I had my father and my fiance pass away. And that was two tragedies that took me down that road of using other things instead of him.
Mm.
So my biggest lesson is don't let things and people take you off your square. You stay who you are and you stay true to you and believe that if there's someone in your life that you respect and you look up to, go to that person anytime you have an issue or a problem and get to know God.
I like that. Thank you so much for. I can tell this is emotional for you. I appreciate you taking the time to really come on and really share your story the only way that you know how, and not letting somebody else guide
Absolutely.
that story. I'm gonna make sure that we put your information on the email up for the viewers to reach out if they need the services. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been no other than the General himself. Remember, like I said, it's not Shaquille O'Neal's General commercial. This is the real General himself, Mr. Basketball himself, Mr. Treg Lee on the Andre the Beast Crayton show.